The cold hit my face the second I stepped onto my sister's porch. My arms were full of wrapped gifts, and my fingers felt stiff from the freezing air. I could see the warm glow from inside the house and hear soft music, along with bits of laughter that drifted through the cracks around the door. I rang the bell and waited, trying to shake some feeling back into my hands. Rihanna pulled the door open but did not let me in. She stood halfway in the doorway, blocking the entrance with her body. Her eyes flicked past me like she was checking if anyone could see us. Then she leaned forward just a little. "Mom says you are too dramatic and tonight is for people who know how to behave." Her voice was low but sharp. I opened my mouth to speak, but she cut me off. "You were not really invited anyway." Before I could answer, she swung the door shut. It slammed so hard the wreath shook against the wood. I stood there staring at my own faint reflection in the glass. Inside I heard laughter again as if nothing had happened. I walked back to my car, sat in the cold darkness, and tried not to cry. 10 minutes later my phone lit up with a call from a number I did not know, and the name of my late grandfather's attorney appeared on the screen. My first instinct was to decline the call. I felt shaky and embarrassed, and my hands were still cold from standing outside the house. But something in my gut told me to answer. I pressed accept and held the phone to my ear. A gentle older voice said, "Hello, is this Rihanna? My name is Mr. Collins. I am your grandfather's attorney. I hope this is not a bad time." I almost laughed from the shock of it all. He explained that my grandfather had added a new clause to his estate plan the week before he died. This clause involved the house where my family was gathering right now. He said there was a sealed letter addressed to me that could only be opened on Christmas Eve while I was present inside the house. At least one blood relative needed to be there with me when it was read. I told him I was nearby, though I did not say the truth, which was that I had just been kicked out. "Good," he replied. "I am already parked on your street." I looked at the warm windows glowing through the falling snow. My family had pushed me aside again, but now I felt something shift deep inside me. I might be holding a quiet power they knew nothing about. While waiting in the car for Mr. Collins to walk over, memories washed over me. I slipped into the old habit of explaining things to myself as if I were telling a friend. I thought about all the years that had shaped this moment. I was the oldest child, the helper, the one who babysat Brianna after school while Mom worked late, the one who cleaned the kitchen without being asked, the one who took small jobs to help with bills when Dad got sick. Everyone praised Brianna for her looks and charm. She was bright and lively, the girl who drew people in. I was the steady one in the corner. The first time Mom called me dramatic was when she forgot to pick me up from a school event, and I cried because I felt abandoned. That moment set the script for everything that followed. My feelings became problems. Brianna's feelings became cute stories they shared with others. I tapped my fingers on the steering wheel and saw headlights behind me. The attorney had arrived. For the first time in my life, someone was coming to see me on Christmas. Someone who actually needed me here. I straightened my coat and stepped out of the car, feeling a strange mix of fear and courage. Something important was about to happen. Mr. Collins stepped out of his car holding a briefcase. Snowflakes gathered on his coat as he walked toward me with a warm smile. He apologized for the strange timing but said the clause in the estate was time-sensitive. He explained that my grandfather, Granddad Henry, had felt for years that I was pushed aside and treated unfairly. He wanted me to be the one who decided what happened to the family house after he was gone. There was a catch, though. His letter held a condition that would permanently shift control of the property. It had to be read inside the house before midnight, and at least one family member had to be present. I looked at the house that had just closed its door in my face. I could almost still feel the sound of it hitting my chest. "So I have to go back in there," I said. He nodded. "Yes. The letter cannot be opened anywhere else." I stared at the doorway. Laughter still floated out faintly, along with the smell of warm food. It hurt to think that they were celebrating while pretending I did not exist. But this moment was no longer just about hurt feelings. It was about the truth my grandfather had left behind, a truth that might finally change everything. I checked my phone again as we walked toward the porch. The family group chat was still open. I scrolled through the messages from the past week and noticed how careful their words were. They kept saying plans were not set yet. They kept avoiding my questions about where Christmas dinner would be. Then I opened a message I had missed earlier. It was from a cousin who had sent a screenshot. In it, I saw my own mother telling the family that inviting me would ruin the evening. She wrote that she wanted one peaceful Christmas without my drama. My chest tightened. They had not forgotten me. They had planned to leave me out. Mr. Collins looked at me kindly. So, Rihanna, are we going in or not? I thought about leaving and letting them keep their perfect night. But then I remembered how they had judged me without even speaking to me. I remembered the hurt, the cold. The door slammed. And I remembered my grandfather. I squared my shoulders and nodded. I will knock again, I said. But this time, I am not coming in alone. The cold wrapped around me again as I stood on the porch with Mr. Collins beside me. I felt nervous and a little shaky, but I also felt a strange strength in my chest. I told him what happened earlier, how Rihanna shut the door in my face and said I was not invited. He listened closely and then said, "You could walk away, Rihanna. No one would blame you. But walking away would also mean letting the people who hurt you decide the future of this house." The idea of them owning the house after what they had done made something inside me reach a boiling point. I pictured my mother hosting more perfect dinners in that dining room while pretending I did not matter. I pictured Rihanna showing off the place like she earned it. My breath turned white in the cold night air. "No," I said softly. "I will try again." I felt the 10 minutes that had passed since the door slammed settle into place like a silent bridge. 10 minutes where everything had changed. 10 minutes where I learned I might hold something they wanted. This time, I would not be treated like an afterthought. I raised my hand and rang the bell. The music inside stopped almost at once. The door opened slowly, and Rihanna stood there again. Her smile looked forced, like something painted on her face. When she saw Mr. Collins beside me, the smile dropped. She started to say something about the party being full, but Mr. Collins stepped forward and introduced himself. "I am here on behalf of your late grandfather. I need Rihanna inside for a legal matter," he said in a steady voice. Brianna stiffened. Her eyes darted into the living room where the rest of the family sat. After a moment, she stepped aside. As I stepped inside, warm air hit my cheeks. The room fell quiet as everyone turned to look at me. My mother froze in place. Her face tightened in a way that told me she was not pleased. I could feel the weight of their silent judgment as I walked farther into the room. My heart pounded as I stood in the center of their perfect holiday scene. I felt like a stranger in a house I had known all my life. Mr. Collins cleared his throat and asked where we could sit to read the letter. This was only the beginning. My eyes scanned the room and landed on someone I never expected to see there. Tyler. My ex-husband. He sat at the dining table beside his mother Dolores. The sight of them made my stomach twist. Dolores gave me a small smirk, like she was already judging every part of me. Tyler looked like he wanted to act kind, but there was something off in his face. I understood the real reason I was uninvited. They did not want me there while Tyler and his mother were present. They did not want any reminders of the past or the truth about how badly things had ended. My mother rushed over, pretending to be warm. She whispered that tonight was not about old problems. Her voice trembled just a little, which told me she was nervous. I took a slow breath to steady myself. I would not let her rewrite the story tonight. Mr. Collins stood with the briefcase in his hands. "We need a place to read your grandfather's letter," he said. Everyone leaned in with curiosity. Even Tyler and Dolores seemed interested. I felt my anger rise, but under it was something stronger. A calm sense that the truth was finally coming. We all moved into the living room. The room felt tight with all the eyes watching me. No one spoke. Mr. Collins placed his briefcase on the coffee table and opened it. He pulled out a worn envelope with my name written in my grandfather's careful handwriting. My breath caught. This was real. He explained that the letter had to be read aloud with me present, and that the contents would settle something very important. My mother stood behind Brianna, gripping her arm. Tyler leaned forward in his seat with interest. Dolores angled herself like she wanted to be seen as part of the family picture. Mr. Collins broke the wax seal. The sound of the crack echoed through the room. He unfolded the letter. The air felt heavy. He began to read. "My dear Rihanna, you have always carried more than anyone knew. I am sorry I did not stand up for you more." My throat tightened as I listened. He wrote about watching how the family treated me. He wrote about wanting peace in the family, not cruelty. The room was silent except for Mr. Collins reading my name. Then he said there was a condition. Something that would decide the future of the house. Everyone leaned in. The condition was simple but strong. Granddad Henry said the house and a large trust fund would go to the grandchild who showed the most compassion and integrity on Christmas Eve. An impartial witness would decide. My heart raced as Mr. Collins read further. The chosen witness was the neighbor who lived close enough to see the front porch. The same neighbor who had watched Brianna shut the door in my face. That neighbor had already called Mr. Collins to report what she saw. A cold quiet filled the room. Mr. Collins looked at me with kind eyes. "Rihanna has met the condition. The house and the trust now belong to her." The reactions exploded at once. Brianna gasped and said she thought I did not want to come. My mother raised her voice and blamed miscommunication. Tyler demanded to know why this affected him. I stood still, frozen in place. I could hardly breathe. Then Mr. Collins added the final part of the letter. Granddad Henry gave me full control to decide who lives in the house. I felt every eye in the room turn to me again. For the first time in my life, I was no longer the powerless one. The room felt like it was spinning as Mr. Collins finished reading the letter. He spoke in a calm voice, but every word carried great weight. The neighbor had witnessed everything clearly. The door had been shut in my face. I had still tried to come with kindness. That meant I had shown compassion and integrity. The inheritance was now legally mine. The house, the land, the trust fund. I stood frozen, letting the new truth sink into my bones. Voices burst out all at once. Brianna insisted she never meant to hurt me and claimed she thought I was busy. Mom said everything was blown out of proportion. Tyler asked why this had anything to do with him, which made no sense at all. I could see people scrambling to rearrange their behavior as if they could erase what they had done. But the biggest surprise came when Mr. Collins read the next line. "Rihanna has full authority to decide who stays in the house and who does not. Complete control." A hush fell over the room again. Their eyes returned to me. I felt something shift inside. For the first time, they needed something from me. And they knew it. The tension rose sharply. It felt like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Brianna pulled Mason aside. I heard her whisper that she had no idea the house was part of any inheritance. Mason looked at her with confusion and a bit of doubt. Mom came to me next. Her face was tight. She leaned close and said I could not be thinking about pushing out my own family. She said it was only one small misunderstanding. She acted like my pain had no weight. Behind her, I saw Dolores watching everything with narrow eyes. She leaned toward Tyler and whispered something that made him smirk. They looked as if they believed they could still find a way to benefit from this. My stomach churned as I saw everyone trying to claim a part of my moment. Their fear and desire twisted together in the air. Something inside me grew stronger. I looked my mother straight in the eyes. For the first time in my life, I said, "I am not reacting. I am thinking." She did not know what to do with that answer. Neither did I. But it felt good. It felt new. It felt like the start of something different. I needed space. I walked into the kitchen to breathe. The room was quiet, but not for long. Tyler followed me in. He acted like he was just checking the dessert table, but I knew better. He started talking in a gentle voice that used to fool me. He apologized for how things ended between us. He said he had grown. He said he cared about me. The words sounded smooth, but they felt empty. I asked him why he had not reached out even once since the divorce. He did not answer. Instead, he tried to change the subject. Then I asked the question that mattered most. "Who told you I was not invited tonight?" His eyes flicked to my mother for the smallest moment. It was tiny but clear. My heart dropped. That was all the proof I needed. They talked about me behind my back. They planned to keep me away for the sake of some perfect image. Anger rose slowly through my chest. Not a wild anger. Not the kind they called dramatic. A steady anger. A clear one. I turned away from Tyler. This time, he could not control the story. Not anymore. On my way back to the hallway, I heard soft voices coming from the guest bedroom. The door was halfway open. I paused without thinking. Inside, Rihanna was crying. Mason sat beside her with a hand on her shoulder. Rihanna said, "Mom told us we needed a peaceful Christmas. She said Rihanna would make everything tense, especially with Tyler and his mother here." My heart clenched. Mason asked, "Why hide that from me? Why treat your sister like that?" Brianna sniffed and said Mom said it would help his business talk with Tyler and Dolores. Business. My own sister traded my presence for a deal. I stepped forward without meaning to and bumped the door frame. The room went silent at once. Brianna lifted her head and her eyes filled with fear when she saw me. "Rihanna," she whispered. It was not supposed to sound like that. I said nothing. I just looked at her. All the pieces came together at that moment. Every lie. Every small cut. Every time they blamed me for something I did not do. I walked away. There was no point in arguing behind a door. If the truth was going to come out, it would come out in front of everyone. I walked into the living room and asked everyone to sit. My voice shook a little, but it was clear. People obeyed without question. I told them I wanted to speak as the person who owned the house and as the person they tried to keep out. I told the story in simple steps. How I arrived. How Brianna blocked me. How the door shut in my face. How I sat alone in my car while they laughed inside. I told them about the group chat messages. The ones that proved they knew exactly what they were doing. Mom tried to interrupt, but Mason spoke up. He said he had overheard her say they wanted one peaceful Christmas without me. The room went still. For the first time, they had to sit and face the truth without a chance to twist it. I could feel my hands shaking, but I did not stop. I was not yelling. I was not crying. I was telling the truth. My truth. For once, they had no place to hide from it. The room felt heavy after I finished speaking. A strange silence settled, almost like the house itself was waiting for the next truth to show. I looked at my mother and asked the question that had lived inside me for years. Why me? Why did you always treat me differently? For a moment she said nothing. Her face twisted as if she wanted to hold the words in. Then something cracked. She said I reminded her too much of her younger self. She said she had been the one who worked hard while everyone else rested. She said she carried blame for things she did not do. When she looked at me, she saw that younger girl again. She did not want to feel that pain, so she pushed it onto me instead. Her voice shook as she spoke. She said she protected Rihanna because Rihanna was easy. Rihanna did not challenge her or show big feelings. I felt stunned. Her honesty hurt, but it also made sense. It did not make the pain smaller, but it explained the pattern that shaped my whole life. The room stayed quiet as everyone let her words sink in. I took a slow breath. Understanding did not mean forgiveness, but it was the first honest truth I had ever heard from her. Dolores stepped forward with a soft smile that did not reach her eyes. She spoke as if she were offering a gift. She said this whole night could become a new start for the family. She suggested that I keep the house as an investment but allow my parents and Brianna to stay. She added that she and Tyler could help with renovations to even raise the value. She said Mason might join the project too. Her tone made it sound like she believed she was being helpful. I listened without interrupting. I watched her face. I watched Tyler stand beside her like he agreed with everything. I understood what they wanted. They hoped I would hand control back to them through another path. They wanted a piece of the house even though they had stood by while I was pushed aside. I kept my voice calm. I said I needed to think. Then I stepped outside onto the porch. The cold air wrapped around me as I breathed out a long sigh. I needed a moment away from the noise. For the first time in my life, people wanted my approval. And I was not sure any of them deserved it. On the porch, I checked my phone again. A new message waited for me. It was from Jordan, the neighbor who had seen everything. She had sent me a short video clip from her door camera. I took a deep breath and pressed play. There I was on the screen, standing on the porch with gifts in my arms. Brianna opened the door. I heard her say I was too dramatic. Then the door shut right in my face. The clip was clear and sharp. Anyone watching would understand it right away. Jordan wrote that she would never post it without my permission, but she believed people needed to see how families treat those they call problems. I pictured the video going online. I pictured the comments, the outrage, the millions of people siding with me. Part of me felt drawn to that thought. They had hurt me for years. The world might finally see it. But another part of me wondered what my grandfather would want. His letter spoke about compassion and integrity, not revenge. I held the phone for a long moment. I had a choice. I texted Jordan back. Keep it safe, but do not post it. Not yet. My revenge did not need to be loud. It only needed to be real. I stayed on the porch until the cold sank into my coat. The snowflakes felt softer now, almost peaceful. My anger had settled into something clear and steady. I knew what path I wanted to take. I walked back inside. The room fell silent again as everyone waited to see what I would do next. I said I was not using the video. Their shoulders lowered in small relief. But then I said my choice of revenge was different. I said I would no longer let them use me or decide who I was. I would no longer accept being the problem they talked about in secret. I told them that I would treat them with fairness, not cruelty, but I would not let them escape the truth of their actions. Mom blinked rapidly. Brianna bit her lip. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. I said forgiveness was not something that came lightly. I said I was done carrying their stories on my back. The room felt different after that. My voice reached a place inside me that I did not know was strong. For the first time, I felt like someone who could choose her life instead of someone waiting to be chosen by others. I gathered everyone again and said it was time to talk about the house. The air grew heavy with fear and curiosity. I said I would not throw anyone out during the holiday. That small kindness softened a few faces in the room. But then I said that starting in the new year, no one would stay in the house without a proper agreement. Any adult who wanted to live there would need to follow simple respect rules and pay a fair amount for the space they used. If they did not want to do that, they would need to move out within a set time. Mom gasped and said family should not charge family. I looked right at her and said, family also does not lock people out in the cold. Her mouth snapped shut. The rest of the room stayed silent. I said I would not take their home from them, but I would not let them take advantage of me anymore. Everything felt different now. I felt more grounded, more sure of the space I held. For the first time, the house felt like it belonged to me. Not as a weapon, but as something I could finally shape with my own choices. When most of the guests had left, the house grew quiet again. Soft lights glowed across the living room, and I felt drained but strangely lighter. As I walked toward the hallway, Mason's father approached me. He asked if we could talk for a moment. His tone was calm, almost gentle. He said he had come tonight to understand the family his son was planning to join. He said he watched how I handled the tension. He said he admired the way I stayed calm and did not turn cruel even when people around me acted unfairly. Then he told me he had an opportunity for me. Something separate from anything involving Tyler or Dolores. It was a job or partnership that could help me build real stability. He said someone with my strength and heart should not stay stuck in survival mode. His words surprised me. I was not used to being seen in that way by people outside the family. I thanked him and said I would like to hear more after the holiday. As he left, I stood still for a moment, feeling something new. Hope. For the first time in a long time, someone saw my worth without asking me to shrink myself. Later that night, Rihanna came looking for me. I was in our old childhood room, sitting on the bed where we once whispered secrets as kids. She stood in the doorway with red eyes and shaky hands. She sat beside me slowly. At first she did not speak. Then the words spilled out. She said she always knew Mom treated me unfairly. She said she was scared to lose the easy praise she got for being the golden child. She said she let fear guide her instead of kindness. I stayed quiet and listened. Her voice cracked as she said Mom pushed her to help keep me away because she wanted the night to stay perfect for Tyler and Dolores. She wiped her face and said she was tired of pretending to be perfect. She said the pressure to stay liked all the time felt like its own prison. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I told her forgiveness was not something I could give tonight. It was something that would need time and real change. She nodded slowly. For once, she was not asking me to forget. She was asking me to see her as a person trying to grow. It was a start. A small one. But a real one. I stepped outside to get some air before leaving. Snow fell in tiny flakes that sparkled under the porch light. As I walked toward the driveway, I saw Tyler and Dolores waiting near their car. Tyler stepped forward and said this could be a chance for us to start over. He said now that I was in a stable place, maybe we could rebuild something. Dolores added that joining forces would be smart for all of us. She talked about investments and future plans like she had a right to guide my life again. I looked at them and felt a strength I did not have months ago. I said, our story is finished. I will not return to someone who made me feel small. Tyler tried to argue, but I held up my hand. I told him that I was done shrinking myself to fit into his world. I told Dolores they would not be part of my future plans. Dolores shook her head and said I was throwing away family. I said family does not treat someone like I was treated. Then I wished them a safe ride home and walked back toward the house. My steps felt steady. My heart felt free. On Christmas morning, soft light filled the house. The smell of fresh coffee drifted through the air. I woke up in the guest room and heard quiet voices downstairs. There was a gentle knock at my door. It was Dad. He stood with careful eyes and said good morning. Then he told me he was proud of me. I did not expect those words. He said he knew he had failed to protect me from Mom's harshness. He said conflict scared him, and he often stayed silent when he should have spoken. He said he wanted to try again, to do better with the time we still had. I felt my throat tighten. I invited him to help me repaint one of the rooms in the new year. Maybe the house could hold better memories for both of us. After he left, I walked through the quiet living room. The place felt different, not because anything had changed yet, but because I was no longer powerless inside it. This house, which once felt like a stage for my hurt, now felt like a place where I could build something new. I wrapped my arms around myself and took a slow breath. Christmas morning had never felt this calm. Later that day, I stood on the porch, looking out at the snow-covered street. I felt the cold air fill my lungs and thought about everything that had happened. I spoke softly in my mind, almost like telling a story to someone far away. I remembered the moment the door shut in my face on Christmas Eve. I remembered how small and unwanted I felt. I remembered sitting in my car with tears in my eyes. Then I remembered the phone call. 10 minutes after the door closed, my life opened in a new way. The truth was this: my real revenge was not the house, not the money, not the power to make rules. My real revenge was learning I did not have to accept a version of love that hurt me. I set move-out dates. I set boundaries. I accepted the opportunity from Mason's father. I made plans to start fresh in a new city while keeping the house as part of my future. I looked back at the doorway behind me. I was standing inside now. I was the one who chose which people I let in and which people stayed outside. And for the first time in my life, the choice was mine.